developing countries being big contributors to the concentration of wealth has given us a situation in the U.S. and certainly in other countries in the hemisphere where, generally speaking, the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. This has been a trend going on now for at least 15 years, and it seems to have perhaps more, at least so as a foundational level of an argument. And what it has produced in the U.S. especially, I'll leave to others who live in other countries and work in other countries to comment on that, is it has produced inequality like we haven't seen in a long, long time. And to compound the inequality, we have seen state actors like the United States Supreme Court basically give free rein to the wealthiest people, to the 1%, to cut a little more to the chase, have free rein over how they can influence the public sector through elections and through wealthy folks who run the financial system in this country. And ironically, it comes on the heels of the Great Recession. We were this close to a depression and to a global financial collapse in 2008 that only exacerbated this gap, this growing gap between the wealthy and working people and the middle class in cities all over the country. I think this dynamic was repeated with perhaps even more severe consequences in cities and in locations all over the hemisphere, Central and South America. In the U.S., the recession took a great devastational blow against everyday people. As people lost their homes to the foreclosure crisis, as people became unemployed, as the percent of young people who were unemployed, who were already underemployed, became significantly unemployed, particularly in African American and Latino communities, low-income communities everywhere in the country. And this dynamic has caused tremendous suffering. You see it in New York, you see it in LA, you see it in Chicago and in cities all over the country. Many of these cities being cities that have a majority-minority population. What does that mean? Essentially, African Americans, Latinos, and Asians. Low income is the common denominator. So people in these cities are struggling with the new realities of the economy, which means that they're working for low wages, which means that they're striving to work 40 hours a week, which means that they're suffering with plenty of crime on the streets, and a recent phenomenon of young kids, especially in Chicago, killing other young kids, while we continue underfunding vital public institutions like public schools in Chicago and Illinois, because we have a structural deficit that relies on a regressive formula rooted in property taxes instead of a progressive formula that would depend on a progressive income tax. And in Illinois, we have a flat tax, which means that there is a structural deficit in how we fund education, how we fund health and human services. And the people that rely on these programs to get by, to have a better quality of life, are poor people and disproportionately people of color. It is further exacerbated, the violence and profiling and the criminalization of young people, with statistics where in Cook County Jail, for example, the largest single jail site in the country, over 90% of all the detainees there are people of color, disproportionately African Americans and Latinos. This is the result of those structural arrangements in society where structural racism is exacerbated, and you see that's within the jail population. You see that the dropout rates reflect a similar type of a pattern, and devastation happens in all parts of the community. So in Chicago, we've seen the story of two cities to a great degree. A shiny, brand new, growing, booming downtown area, and neighborhoods who are hurting. The ones that hurt the most are on the south side and on the west side, with Latino communities bordering nearby, and the shiny new city with tremendous prosperity, growth in housing, booming housing boom going on, not affordable to regular everyday workers. So this is the new reality that we're living in cities throughout the country.
I'm going to stop you there because you're doing a really good description of the problem, right?
Yes.
But just think for a moment, and not just for you. I'm going to change your name. I'm really good doing that. Jesus.
Chuy.
And Axela and Elena. Think for a moment. We are imagining solutions. Think for a moment. How do we change inequality? But before, hold on. I would like to hear from Miguel. Miguel, where's